My name is Serena Vale. I'm 27 years old. And for almost my entire life, my family called me the ugly one. Not as a joke, not once or twice, they turned it into my identity. My younger sister Bianca was the beautiful one. The perfect one. The girl relatives fought to photograph at weddings. The one strangers complimented in restaurants. The one my mother proudly called my little princess. And me. I was the daughter my mother told to stand in the back during family photos. But 3 months ago, at our annual family reunion in front of 60 relatives, a stranger walked into the ballroom, looked directly at me, and said something that made my father drop his wine glass. Because my family had been hiding a secret about me for 27 years. And that night, everything changed. Growing up in the Vale family felt like living beside a spotlight that never pointed at me. Bianca got modeling classes at 13. I got acne cream and helpful advice. Maybe if you lost weight your face would look softer, my Aunt Diane told me at Thanksgiving when I was 16. My mother didn't defend me. She nodded. The worst part? After a while, I started believing them. Family dinners became performances. Bianca sat beside my father while he bragged about her beauty pageants and brand deals. Meanwhile, I learned how to stay quiet enough to disappear. At my cousin's wedding, the photographer actually pulled me aside and whispered, "Could you stand near the edge of the photo? We're trying to keep the symmetry balanced." I still remember pretending to check my phone so nobody would see me cry. But there was one person who never treated me that way. My grandmother, Evelyn. She used to cup my face in her hands and say, "People who only see beauty with their eyes usually miss the most important things." At the time, I didn't understand what she meant. I would eventually. But first, the reunion happened. Every summer, the Vale family hosted a massive reunion at my uncle's country club in Connecticut. Perfect dresses. Perfect smiles. Perfect lies. I almost didn't go that year. But my mother called 3 days before the event. "Please try to look presentable this time, Serena," she sighed. "Your father invited business partners." Presentable. That word sat in my chest like broken glass. The night of the reunion, Bianca arrived in a silver designer gown that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The entire room noticed. Relatives swarmed her instantly. "Oh my God, Bianca, you look stunning. You could be a movie star. Serena, you're lucky to have such a gorgeous sister." Lucky. I stood near the back wall holding a glass of champagne I couldn't afford and trying not to disappear into myself. That's when I noticed him. An older man in a charcoal suit standing near the ballroom entrance. Silver hair. Calm posture. Expensive watch. And he kept staring at me. Not Bianca. Me. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining it. But every time I looked up, he was watching me. I didn't realize it at the time. That stranger was about to destroy everything my family had built. Around 9 p.m., my father tapped his champagne glass for attention. The room quieted immediately. "I want to thank everyone for celebrating another beautiful year for the Vale family," he announced proudly. Then he wrapped an arm around Bianca. And of course, my beautiful daughter Bianca, who just signed her first luxury skincare campaign. Applause exploded through the ballroom. My mother looked emotional. Bianca smiled like she'd rehearsed it in a mirror. And then my father laughed. Thankfully one of my daughters inherited the good genes. The room erupted in awkward chuckles. I felt my face burn. Even after all these years. It still hurt. I grabbed my purse and turned toward the hallway because I knew if I stayed another second, I'd cry in front of everyone. But before I reached the exit, the stranger stepped directly into my path. "Serena Vale?" he asked calmly. My stomach tightened. "Yes." He reached into his jacket and handed me a cream-colored envelope. "Your grandmother asked me to give this to you personally." I froze. My grandmother passed away 2 years ago. "I'm aware," he replied softly. "My name is Arthur Bennett. I was her attorney." Attorney? Suddenly my father's voice thundered across the ballroom. "What is going on over there?" Every head turned toward us. Arthur didn't even flinch. Instead, he raised his voice just enough for the room to hear. I'm here because Evelyn Vale requested that her granddaughter Serena finally learn the truth about who she is. Silence. Complete silence. My father's face lost color instantly. Arthur, he snapped, this is not the place. But the man ignored him. He looked directly at me. Your grandmother discovered something years ago. Something your parents hid from you your entire life. My hands started shaking. What are you talking about? Arthur opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a DNA report. And one photograph. A younger version of my mother standing beside another woman. A woman who looked exactly like me. Not Bianca. Me. My breathing stopped. Arthur's voice lowered. Serena. Evelyn conducted a private DNA test before she died. The ballroom felt like it tilted sideways. Richard Vale is not your biological father. Gasps exploded around the room. My mother grabbed the table for balance. Bianca looked completely stunned. What? I whispered. Arthur continued carefully. Your mother had an affair 28 years ago with a man named Daniel Mercer. Evelyn discovered the truth shortly after you were born. I stared at my mother. Tears filled her eyes instantly. No. But Arthur wasn't finished. And according to Evelyn's final instructions, he paused. Daniel Mercer spent years trying to find you. My knees almost gave out. Because I knew that name. Everyone did. Daniel Mercer was one of the wealthiest architects in New York. My father lunged forward. This is insane. But Arthur calmly pulled out another document. A notarized statement signed by Evelyn Vale herself. My grandmother knew. The entire time. And suddenly every memory started making sense. Why my father never looked at me the way he looked at Bianca. Why relatives treated me differently. Why I always felt unwanted in my own family. Because deep down, they knew. I thought the humiliation was over. I was wrong. Because my mother suddenly broke down crying in front of everyone. I was scared, she sobbed. Richard said if people found out, it would destroy the family. The room exploded into whispers. Bianca looked at me like she didn't even know who I was anymore. And my father. He looked terrified. Not angry. Terrified. That's when Arthur delivered the final blow. Daniel Mercer passed away 8 months ago, he said quietly. And Serena was named in his estate. The ballroom went dead silent. He left her $32 million. My father actually stumbled backward. My aunt covered her mouth. And suddenly, every relative who ignored me all night couldn't stop staring. Keep watching, because what happened next destroyed the image my family spent decades building. My father tried to pull me aside afterward. Serena, sweetheart, we can explain. No, I said calmly. For the first time in my life. I interrupted him. You don't get to call me sweetheart now. My voice didn't shake anymore. Neither did my hands. And somehow, that scared him more. My mother cried harder. Bianca kept apologizing over and over, whispering. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. And honestly, for the first time in years, I believed her. If you've ever been judged by the people who were supposed to love you, comment enough below. Because nobody deserves to feel invisible inside their own family. 3 months later, I moved into a quiet apartment overlooking the Hudson. Not a mansion. Not some revenge fantasy. Just peace. Real peace. I started therapy. I cut contact with some relatives completely. Others suddenly wanted relationships with me after the inheritance became public. But money changes masks faster than it changes people. My mother still calls sometimes. Mostly crying. Mostly apologizing. And my father. He never recovered socially after the reunion. Turns out people respect image until the truth walks into the room. But the biggest surprise wasn't the inheritance. It was the final letter my grandmother left me. Arthur mailed it to me a week after the reunion. Inside, she wrote, Serena, the cruelest people often attack what threatens them most. Your family mocked your appearance because they feared your strength. Never confuse their blindness for your lack of value. I cried for almost an hour after reading that. Because for the first time in my life, I stopped seeing myself through their eyes. Looking back now, I understand something I couldn't understand as a child. Being called ugly long enough can make you invisible to yourself. And sometimes healing doesn't begin when people finally love you. Sometimes healing begins the moment you realize you never needed their permission to love yourself. My family spent 27 years making me feel small. One stranger destroyed that lie in less than 10 minutes. And honestly, that reunion didn't ruin my life. It gave me one.